Explosions rocked multiple cities across Iran, including its capital, Tehran. Videos from Tehran show smoke. You see it here billowing over the city. And now we're getting reports of explosions in Gulf Arab countries hosting U.S. military bases. Live look now at Abu Dhabi, where explosions were reported, in addition to Bahrain and Qatar. A video now of an explosion in Bahrain. Officials say a missile hit the service center of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet in the country. These strikes happen barely a day after the latest round of indirect nuclear talks between Iran and the U.S. And sources tell CNN the U.S. military is planning for these attacks to last for days. Israel said the same, and both President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are now calling for regime change.
To the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Iran media reported just hours ago that Iran already launched dozens of ballistic missiles at Israel. And Qatari officials say that Qatar already intercepted 2 Iranian missiles, indicating Iran is carrying out that plan to retaliate.
Trump atacou. Estamos aí a ver ao vivo as coisas que estão acontecendo no Médio Oriente, em que o Trump decidiu, juntamente com Israel, atacar Irã e acabar com o regime. Estado totalitário e que tem massacrado a sua população que quer mudanças, e o Trump veio para salvar e levar a democracia. Então, vamos ver como é que vai se desenrolar tudo isso, se o Trump vai conseguir realmente acabar com esse regime.
What is Iran capable of, where our bases are, and what we can do to retaliate while we initiate action?
Well, that's right. Let's start with the missiles. You know, you had Sean Hannity talking about the missiles. And what's different about this operation, Brian, from what we saw last summer, is the mission objective is very defined here. The scale of escalation is much more intense. But the mission is Israel is targeting Iran's leadership. The U.S. right now is targeting the missile defense system. So we look at that. We know that Iran has not yet gotten a long-range intercontinental ballistic missile that would reach the U.S.
It's estimated it would take to 2035, but they're en route to doing it.
They're trying to do it in the U.S. President Trump wants to make sure they never get it. But what they do have is a stockpile of some 1,000 to 3,000 possible short-range and medium-range ballistic missiles. And you can see on our map here, the very short-range ones obviously going about 200 miles. Already, Iran in these early hours have hit in the Bahrain. They targeted our Fifth Fleet. They've hit the UAE. They've launched missiles at Saudi Arabia. So far, no casualties. But obviously, Iran is striking at the entire region, hence making this, as Trey Inks reports, regional. But it is the medium-range missiles, the Shahab 3s, and some of the ones you'll hear about in the coming days. Look at this, Brian. They can hit Italy. They can hit Germany if they get them. One thing we also know about this initial, and we're waiting for the battle damage assessment, we know that likely those F-22 Raptors were used to go in early and fast and try and take out the enemy air defense.
So a couple of things. We had missile defense in Europe just in case this happens. But guess what? Barack Obama says, I want to be friends with Russia. I hear it annoys you that we have missile defense there. So for no reason, I will just arbitrarily take it out. By the way, the Europeans sitting this one out. In fact, the UK, as well as France, says, don't use our bases. We needed the ones with Diego Garcia, and we're not going to forget. I don't think this administration is going to forget that. What else can we see as we try to analyze this region, what Iran has and what Iran has and what we have?
Well, and
let's rotate the map.
If we can rotate the map a little bit, let's go just a little bit deeper and look at, what we struck, the Iran nuclear sites. They are clearly going to be on the map again for the very reason that President Trump states that Iran can never have that weapon. And you remember, it is Isfahan, Natanz, Iraq, Fordo, the main nuclear sites, they were hit. We were told they were set back years, but we also have reports, it appears, that Iran never stopped trying to enrich uranium and build a bomb.
It was inaccurate for Steve Witkoff to say they're a week away from a bomb. They got to stay away from saying things that aren't true. They were starting to rebuild their nuclear capabilities while negotiating, as we say, down to zero enrichment. They yesterday were saying, we might do zero enrichment for 3 to 5 years. That's the type of verbal gymnastics that's been stringing this along through presidency after presidency.
But that's a great point, Brian, because it wasn't the Iranians didn't specifically say that. We saw Oman's foreign minister sit down in an interview with CBS, a guy named Badr al-Udayasi. He said that they were willing to do this, but Iran didn't say it.
And even if they did say it, we said without sunset, this is permanent.
And that's why President Trump and the administration said, you didn't come and meet us at that demand, so we don't ultimately know exactly what they are doing, despite what Oman's foreign minister.
All right, so let's take a look at the U.S. military bases near Iran, because that's what they're going to be targeting. That's what they have targeted. This is where we are. Now, I will say this, offensively, we've hit the Hezbollah Kataib in Iraq, because those militias continuing to harass our troops. We got about 2,000 still in Iraq.
So very sobering words in President Trump's message overnight is that we could have American casualties. And that's why the green dots here are major U.S. bases. We know, of course, in Bahrain, we have the Navy's 5th Fleet. We have Al Udeid in the region. We have Ali Salim in Kuwait. And these bases are why we are worried that Iran has already tried to launch missiles. We can expect that to increase. And then I just want to show you one little area here. This short little 20, 30-mile way in the Strait of Hormuz, we obviously have our bases down there. That is as the U.S. seeks to accomplish the goal of air and naval dominance. That is going to be an area where we're worried about the Houthis getting involved, and we're worried about Iran trying to block it with their Navy.
The Houthis have already said they're going to look to shut down that waterway. So we're not going to allow that. They're going to put themselves into that. They also said they're going to begin to hit Israel. So we have to be aware of that. That's what Saudi Arabia had to deal with prior to Joe Biden coming in. And Joe Biden's administration actually sided with the Houthis, took them off the terror list, and left Saudi Arabia naked to take on that fight. Now we had to end up going in there with this administration and bombing them for 52 straight days. They finally got the message, but they're back in play.
And Saudi Arabia already this morning condemning missiles launched at them. This is no doubt turning into a regional conflict very quickly.
That's what they want. They want our allies in the region to turn on us. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the administration's in great communication with the UAE, Saudi Arabia. Jordan's also reporting that they've been targeted too. No injuries. All right. Thanks so much, Grip.
Já sabemos no passado as coisas que aconteceram no Iraque e no Afeganistão, que as coisas não foram bem, e depois de todo o conflito, toda a guerra, as coisas continuaram ainda piores. Então vamos ver o que é que vai acontecer com o Irão. Só que o Irão tem uma população externa muito gigantesca que podem voltar e construir o país e fazer as coisas andarem. E tem também uma monarquia, né? E o príncipe também está desejoso de voltar e entrar no poder. E vamos ver o que é que vai acontecer aí no Irão, mas as coisas estão a acontecer. O Irão também voltou a retaliar e a bombardear várias bases e sítios onde os norte-americanos estão. E Israel também, que é o inimigo principal de todo o Médio Oriente. Israel basicamente está ali encurralado por todos os lados, todo mundo os odeia. E se não fosse pelos Estados Unidos, Irão estava em maus lençóis. Aliás, Israel estava em maus lençóis, mas com a proteção dos Estados Unidos também. Pronto, o que vemos aqui é o Trump a tomar suas medidas para ter um mundo melhor. E como ele disse que não quer que Irão tenha armas nucleares, e faz bem, porque Irão é um país que não dá para confiar, que financia muito terroristas em todos os sítios, em África, no Médio Oriente. O Irão é o principal país do Islã, dos muçulmanos. É o principal país onde toda a ideologia e tudo que tem a ver com basicamente o Islã, a maioria de tudo vem lá de Irão. O Irão é o principal país, só que não tem essa capacidade toda por causa das sanções, senão ia ser um dos países, ou se não o país mais rico ali em todo o Médio Oriente. Só que não é, porque Israel, os Estados Unidos colocam muitas sanções e então é difícil para eles conseguirem dinheiro e vês aí estão em problemas financeiros e mesmo assim continuam a financiar todos os turistas em todo o mundo. O que é algo assim incrível, porque o objetivo deles mesmo é levar o Estado Islâmico por toda parte. Tipo, o mundo virar um Estado Islâmico. Essa é a ideologia. Só que estamos a ver um mundo é que não queremos isso. Queremos cada um segue o que quer, se acredita naquilo. Epá, basta que esteja de acordo com as regras internacionais, humanitárias. De resto, aqui no mundo ocidental, quase ninguém. Há sempre pessoas, grupos que querem, mesmo que o Estado Islâmico aí de Irão quer, que é o monopólio de tudo. Mas no mundo ocidental, não. Vivemos em estados laicos e cada um segue o que quer. Vamos ver nos próximos dias, ou ainda horas, o que é que vai surgir, mas Trump está a fazer o seu trabalho. Colocaram lá no poder, ele agora está a fazer o seu trabalho. E isto aí, até hoje não encontro nenhum presidente que coloca tanto em ação, tantas coisas ao mesmo tempo, como a pessoa fica chocado. É tudo muito volátil, não se sabe o que é que vai acontecer daqui a nada. Mas isso já se previa, porque os Estados Unidos mandou muito material para o Golfo lá, e óbvio que vai atacar, porque estão a ser mortos muitas as pessoas que revoltam-se contra o Estado Islâmico em Irão, e são já muitos centenas de milhares de mortos lá, e vamos ver o que é que vai surgir de tudo isso aqui, porque o Irão vai contra-atacar. O Trump já disse, vocês todos que estão aí no poder, por favor, entregam-se já e deixam as armas, porque senão todo mundo vai ser morto. Esse é o Trump. O homem está em ação. E ele, não sei se vai mandar tropas ou não, mas ele disse, infelizmente, vamos ter algumas casualidades, mas vocês, o povo de Irão, fiquem tranquilos, entrem em casas, porque vai cair muitas toneladas de bombas aí. Estejam bem protegidos, porque vamos vir com todo o poder. E eles têm, não sei, já todo equipamento já ali no Golfo, e eles é só lançar as bombas em bases e sítios onde estão esses estados islâmicos e vão destruir aquilo. Acho que em uma semana essa guerra acaba. Isso aí, o Trump decidiu mesmo colocar mesmo ali em trabalho juntamente com Israel e com aliados, que agora estão assim um bocadinho complicado a relação com os aliados, mas se eles apoiarem também, o Irão ficará livre do Estado Islâmico em pouco tempo. E depois vai acontecer aquelas guerras, porque o Estado Islâmico ainda vai continuar sempre a ter algumas pessoas e vai continuar aí a colocar bombas e essas coisas todas que já vimos, né? Não é nada de novidade. Então, vamos ver desenrolar de tudo isso. E inscreva-se aí no Volátil Media, que isso é volatilidade que não acaba. Estamos juntos.
U.S. President Donald Trump, in a Truth Social video message, said the U.S. military had begun major combat operations in Iran. He claimed Iran has continued to develop its nuclear program and plans to develop missiles to reach the U.S.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again, they can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all. Thank you.